Hello, ladies, and welcome to day 9 of Sip from the Well 10 Days of Pause. I am in a different location today, and I got to tell you that I'm just so thankful to be here. So many things have happened since I started this challenge that have had to that have caused me to pivot and have to adjust and, have to pause and, to kind of change what my original thought was because I had to adjust to what was happening in my life. And that's the whole point of the pause challenge, right? It is setting our lives up in a way so that we can make the necessary adjustments when we need to and it doesn't throw us off course. You know, um that is part of the reason why we're doing this. And so um, yeah, I'm in a different location. And tomorrow for day 10, our live, when I hope to see some of you live, I will be in a different state. So that was not the plan. I planned to be right in my office, talking to y'all, but things happen, right? And we have to adjust. And so it's a real time example of what happens when we need to pause and we need to shift and we need to make adjustments in our lives. And it can be a lot harder to do that when we don't have margins, when we don't have a regular rhythm of pausing. So I hope that that encourages you, to keep pressing in and to keep digging into what your rhythm of pause looks like, right? I've been calling it redemptive rhythms of rest. This is our redemptive rhythm of rest, right? We have to remember that when we say redemptive rhythm of rest, that does not mean passive. Rest is active. And it doesn't mean it's active in your physical body because it could mean that you're taking a nap. And we have to understand that naps are active. Naps are active recovery, active healing in your body. They activate healing. But every pause is not the same, right? There are so many different kinds of pauses. And a pause doesn't have to mean taking a nap. It could mean something totally different for you. So, um, what is your redemptive rhythm of rest? Your pause. What is your redemptive rhythm going to look like as we bring this challenge down? And y'all are going to see me looking at some notes today because whew, uh, I need them with me today, right? This has been a journey, a lot of adjustments, a lot of changes to my schedule, a lot of changes to my plans. And so I'm gonna have some notes with me. So if you see me looking down, that's all it is. Okay. So let's dive in. First, I want to tell you that I'm so honored that you joined me for this challenge. It has been a ride, right? It has been a journey. There's been a lot of information, so many things to think about as we intentionally consider how you, we as a group collective, want to continue the pause in our life, right? There are so many things to consider as we come to this is day 9. Day 9, 9 is the number of birthing, right? Birthing, 9 months, that baby is there, 9 months. 9 is the number of birthing. And we are birthing something new. We are birthing new redemptive rhythms of rest in our lives. We are birthing a new pattern of pausing, right? A new pattern of pausing. That is what we are birthing. We are being intentional about the way we show up for ourselves, for our purpose, and for those people that are called to our purpose. Okay. So before we dive into today's message, which is about limiting beliefs, I want to take a moment to share a few things with you. Okay. So, one, tomorrow is the live. I'm excited to be with you and chat with you. It's not going to be long at all. It's just a way for us to connect and share. I would love for you to share any highlights of the challenge, any ahas, any revelations that you've had that came um, maybe not even as you were listening to me, but as you were going throughout your day and you had heard something from me earlier in the video or another day in the video, and then something came up in your life and you were like, oh, there it is. that's what I'm, that's the thing that I'm supposed to be focusing on. That's it. Um, 10/10, October 10th is World Mental Health Awareness Day. And I planned this very strategically so that we would end on World Mental Health Awareness Day. But as I will tell you tomorrow, I will tell you the story of how 10/10 became to be an important day for me and the realizations that came to my life as as I grew and developed and learned and just my whole healing journey. So tomorrow we'll have some reflections. I'll share briefly about 10/10, what it means to me, how I got here, and we'll also talk about the red dot. Right? You see me putting a red dot everywhere. It's not just because it's cute, right? It has meaning. And so we're going to talk about that on 10/10 as well. So don't worry if you're not with us live. It will be recorded and I will send it to y'all in email. Okay. All right. So also, I'm attaching a link to a video from my podcast. Those of you that don't know, I have a podcast. I have a podcast. It's called Leading Through the Cracks. Real Stories, Whole Women, and Transformative Leadership. And I had one of you, participants of the Sip from the Well challenge, come on my podcast and talk about the challenge, talk about how she was experiencing the challenge, what the pause means to her. And it's a really interesting look at pausing and at rest. And so I'm including that. Um, Video in your email. So you'll see that. Um, let's see what else. Very important. During this entire challenge, the videos have been unlisted on YouTube. Okay. All the videos have been unlisted. As of today, they are all public. Put in a playlist called Sip from the Well 10 Days of Pause. What that means is if there's any woman that you know that has not been in this challenge, that needs a redemptive rhythm, right? That needs a new pattern of pause. You can now just take the link to the playlist and send it to her. Isn't that great? You can just send it. She can just listen, 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 right? Awesome. I'm so excited about that. This again is not about me. This is about encouraging women who really are feeling tired, dry, empty, depleted, right? We want to spread the word that it is okay to pause. And we want to spread the word about what pausing truly means and how pausing can look different for every individual person. These are just tools. Every day has just been a tool and an encouragement, but there's so much more. There's so many more things that we could be talking about when it comes to creating redemptive rhythms in your life so that you're no longer abandoning your needs and creating a new pattern of pause. So please, by all means, I encourage you to share the link to the playlist. It's okay. So now, with that being said, let's dive into today's message on limiting beliefs and the pause of self compassion. All right. So, what is a limiting belief? Well, It's exactly what it says it is. It's a belief that limits you, right? It's a belief that limits you in some way from reaching your full potential. It's a belief that is keeping you stagnant, that's keeping you held back, that's keeping you feeling stuck. It could be a belief about who you are. It could be a belief about your capacity. It could be a, a belief about God. It could be a belief about your abilities, about your worth, about your value. It could be about other people or the world. Anywhere a belief that you hold is keeping you from operating in your full potential, taking advantage of opportunities, or hindering your growth and well being, it is limiting. Limiting beliefs are false and restrictive. How are they formed? Well, they're formed unconsciously in your subconscious, and they become the narrative or the story that you continually tell yourself. They're often rooted in fear, self doubt, and they can show up as defense mechanisms to avoid pain or disappointment. So let's pause right there for a moment. I want you to take inventory. I want you to slow down and really think about what beliefs might cause you not to pause. What beliefs might cause you to continue to live your life with no margins? What beliefs might cause you to remain stuck in patterns that continually cause you to abandon yourself? Take inventory about that. As you consider that, as you sit here and you think about those beliefs that could be hindering you, I want to tell you a story. All right. So, if you're like me, you love a discount, right? I love a discount. I love a sale. I love a thrift store. Finding something that I love and will use over and over and over again is like pure joy when I find it at a price that is right. Okay. A price that will not break the bank. That is like heaven. Okay. Heaven, 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 heaven. Right? So, but you know what sends me over the top in moments like that? Moments when I find the shoe and it's like $5, $2, and it was 80. You know what sends me completely over is when the price tag, the original tag, is still on the shoe. When the original tag is still on the shoe and I can see that $80 price tag, that $100 price tag, that $150 price tag, and I'm getting it for a fraction of the cost, it sends me to another place somehow. Somehow I value it even more. It's crazy. Same shoe. But if I see that price tag, that original price tag, I'm like, I am getting an amazing deal right now. And it sends me to a happy place. I might even do a dance in the store. I can't promise you I won't. So, um, what what is the point? The point that I'm trying to make here is that often our limiting beliefs create a tag. They become a label, they become a sticker of worth and value that we put on ourselves, just like that shoe that I love, or those $150 jeans that I got for 10 bucks. That sticker, that $10 sticker becomes what I am paying for those jeans. That $2 sticker becomes what I am paying for those shoes. But the worth that the person who created the jeans said, 150 for the jeans. How often do we do this to ourselves? The God who created you has placed immense value on who you are, the woman that you are, your purpose, your vision, your heart, how you show up in the world has value The way you leave your mark has value. Our limiting beliefs place labels and residue on us that causes us to diminish the value that God placed on us. So what I want you to do today is I want you to remember me dancing in the thrift store with my $2 shoes that should have been $80. And I want you to think about yourself. And I want you to think about the beliefs that you hold about yourself that might cause you to operate in ways that are contrary to the worth and the value of the woman that you are. I want you to be honest with yourself about what those beliefs are, because we behave from belief, right? You behave from belief. Whatever it is you believe about you, you will act that out. If you believe that you are only worthy and valuable when you are running yourself ragged, extending yourself to the nth degree, that's what you're going to do. If you believe that everyone around you will fall apart if you pause, if you take a break, if you institute boundaries, you won't institute them. What do you believe? If you believe that God does not have all the answers for your life, if you believe that God cannot give you the wisdom for the next step, if you believe that God is waiting on you to change who you are and become this new, well-spoken, well-presented, spotless woman before you can step into whatever the next thing is that is on your heart to step into, you're not going to step into it because we're not perfect, right? None of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. We are all in progress. We are all on a journey. All of our journeys look differently. So, ladies, what I'm challenging you to do is to pause and look at what you believe. I want you to look at what you believe about yourself. I want you to look at what you believe about the world. I want you to look at what you believe about God. I want you to look at what you believe about your friends and family. I want you to look at what you believe about your abilities and your capacity. Look at what you believe. And when you look at what you believe, you have to look at your actions, because we behave from belief. We behave from belief. So if you want to know what you believe, look at what you're doing or look at what you're not doing and see if there are things that need to be adjusted, right? See if there are things that need to be adjusted so that they line up with what is true. And what is true about you is that you are worthy. You are valuable. You are deserving of rest. And it's not only about deserving of rest, it is that rest is a fundamental, necessary need. Fundamental. It's fundamental. Remember, we talked about, I don't remember what day it was, y'all, but I talked about God resting on the seventh day. One of my mentors, Dr. Tracy Timberlake, said when I was listening to her this week, she said something about God resting on the seventh day. And she said it was because he'd done everything that he needed to do. And there was nothing else that needed to be done. You know why there was nothing else that needed to be done? Because he gave us the authority to do everything else after he was done creating us. I was like, wow, that's massive. That means each and every one of us has something that we're supposed to be showing up for and doing in the earth. And again, It may look different for all of us. It does look different for all of us, right? Because we're all a part of the mosaic pieces of the world. So I would charge you today to take off those labels, those stickers, those clearance tags. That's what they are. When you go to the clearance section and you see how it's been marked down and marked down and marked down from this original value, I'm charging you today to remove the clearance tags off of yourself. No more clearance tags, ladies. We are operating in the original intent, the original value that God placed on us. No more clearance tags. So that brings us to the pause of self-compassion. Self-compassion is about being kind to yourself. It is about silencing the inner critic. It is about recognizing and understanding your value and your worth. And if you don't recognize and understand your value and your worth and silence the inner critic, you won't make any of these shifts that we're talking about this week, these 10 days. You won't create redemptive rhythms for yourself. You won't create a new pattern of pause for yourself if you do not value who you are as a woman, if you don't value and honor the needs of your spirit, mind, and body, if you don't value, honor, recognize the worth of the purpose that you've been called to, you won't shift. So one of the things that I want you to do in this practice of the self-compassion pause, I want you to think about one of your best friends. I want you to think about her. I want you to put her face in your mind, and I want you to think about how amazing you think she is, how wonderful, how fabulous, what a wonderful smile, what a great presence, how she shows up in the world, how she encourages people. I want you to think about that best friend. Now, I want you to think about that best friend fighting for her life, not necessarily fighting for her life from sickness, but fighting to keep her life together. She's going through something, right? She's struggling, crying all the time. She's exhausted. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't have time to breathe. I want you to think about what you would say to her. Seriously. I want you to think about what you would say to that friend. I could start calling out my friends' names right now. I'm not going to do it because some of them are watching, but I could start calling their names out right now and telling how fabulous, how wonderful, how worthy, valuable they are. And this is what I see for them. This is what they could do. This. I want you to think about what you would say to that friend to encourage her. And when you say it, after you've got it all written out, I want you to talk to yourself that way. I want you to tell those things that you would tell that best friend. I want you to tell it to yourself. I want you to remind yourself of who you are. I want you to give yourself so much grace, love, and compassion. I want you to remind yourself to honor your needs in spirit, mind, and body. I want you to remind yourself to take a pause, to connect with the divine creator, to connect with deep, loving, connected friends. I want you to remind yourself to set boundaries. I want you to remind yourself that things don't fall apart and stop just because you stop to breathe. I want you to remind yourself that you can't be all things to all people at all times. I want you to remind yourself that it's okay if you make a mistake. I want you to remind yourself that it's okay if you don't have all the answers. It's okay if you only know the first step. I want you to remind yourself of these things, all the things that you would tell your best friend. I want you to tell them to yourself. Silence the inner critic, silence the self-doubt, silence the lies that tell you you can't, that tell you you're not worthy, that tell you you're always late, you're always messing up, you're always whatever the always is, whatever your narrative is, whatever your limiting beliefs are. I want you to silence them. Turn them off because they are not a part of our new redemptive rhythms of rest. Those limiting beliefs are not a part of our new patterns of pause. Ladies, it has been my absolute pleasure to bring you this information. I have so much more to say. I have so much more that I could impart to you and share with you and encourage you in and help you to strategize. But we're going to leave it right here today. We're going to leave it right here. You're going to hear from me an email. You're going to hear from me with a live tomorrow. I'll email you more information. I'll email you ways of how you can stay connected with me. If that's what you would like, I would love to have you in my world, in my community. Because one of the things that is really important to remember is that when you're making these kind of shifts, because this is not just a shift of, oh, I want to start breathing every morning. Although, yes, to that, you can do that. And that is awesome. Like deep breathing every morning and make it a routine. Yes. But this is a holistic shift to change the rhythms of life that you are living. That includes spirit, mind, and body. And one of the most important parts of it is what we're talking about today, our thought life. What do you believe? Because we behave from belief. So we must shift our thinking in order to shift our world. Shift your thinking, shift your world. Simple as that. And that's a huge part of what all of this is about. In order to shift your thinking, to shift your world, you have to know what you're thinking. Because the thoughts that you have over and over and over and over and over again become the belief that you behave from. And it's time that we recognize what those are and make the necessary shifts to create the redemptive rhythms of rest that we need in our lives through establishing patterns of pause. I love you, ladies, and I will see you tomorrow on our live 10:10. Yay!